John Oliver stepped onto the stage with that signature smirk and single-handedly ignited the most brutal takedown of Donald Trump's carefully crafted image in years. What started as a savage joke quickly exploded into an all-out war when Trump rage-posted on Truth Social, personally attacking the British comedian as a low-energy loser, only for Oliver to fire back with a relentless avalanche of Trump's own old clips, leaked audio from insiders, and never-before-seen footage that mocked the former president's perfect family, lies, and exposed the ugly contradictions in real time. The lights in the studio dimmed just a bit as John Oliver walked out onto the stage, that familiar smirk already playing on his face. The audience, packed tight and buzzing with energy, suddenly went dead quiet when they saw what he was carrying. In his arms was this ridiculous, oversized fake pregnancy belly, the kind that looked like it belonged in a bad comedy sketch. But this one was stuffed full of papers sticking out the sides, each one labeled in big black marker. Trump's Secrets. A few people chuckled nervously, but most just leaned forward. Oliver adjusted the belly so it sat perfectly on his hips, gave it a little pat like it was real, and looked straight into the camera. "Folks, tonight we're diving into something wild," he said, his British accent cutting through the room. "Melania's 9-month secret might just be the greatest cover-up in presidential history." The line landed hard. Half the crowd burst out laughing, thinking it was just another over-the-top Oliver jab. But the other half sat there, frozen, waiting for the punch to really hit. He didn't waste any time getting to the heart of it. Oliver explained how the whole thing went down, Melania faking her entire pregnancy, belly and all, just to hide the real timeline of what was happening with the Trump family. According to his theory, it was all a smokescreen for Ivanka's secret delivery abroad, kept completely under wraps from the public. No one in the audience was laughing now in the same way. Oliver laid it out plain and simple, connecting the dots without any fancy talk. It was the kind of story that sounded crazy at first, but the way he broke it down made you wonder how much was really hidden behind those polished family photos. Then came the part that shifted everything. Oliver hit a button on his remote, and the big screens behind him lit up with side-by-side clips of Melania from years ago. In one, her belly looked perfectly round and normal. In the next, it was weirdly square, like someone had stuck a box under her dress. The audience started laughing again at how obvious it looked once you saw it. But Oliver kept rolling the clips. Another one showed her belly looking full at an event, then just 3 weeks later, completely flat in a different appearance. No bump, no nothing. The laughter in the room died fast. People went quiet, staring at the screen as the clips looped. What started as giggles turned into stunned silence. You could hear a few whispers. "Wait, is that real?" Oliver stood there with the fake belly still strapped on, letting the visuals sink in. He didn't yell or overdo it. He just pointed at the screen and said, "That's not a wardrobe malfunction, folks. That's a timeline that doesn't add up." The studio felt heavier now, the energy crackling between laughs and shock. Everyone was locked in, phones already coming out as people tried to process what they'd just seen. Miles away at Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump sat in front of a big TV watching the show live. His hand gripped his phone so tight the screen might crack. His face turned deep red, jaw clenched as Oliver kept talking. The show had barely hit its first commercial break when Donald Trump's phone lit up and his fingers went flying across the screen. Within minutes, Truth Social exploded with his all-caps response. "Fake leaks. Barron is my son. Melania raised him perfectly. John Oliver is a low-energy loser from across the pond. A total disaster. Sad." The posts kept coming, one right after another, each one angrier than the last. Trump wasn't just denying it. He was going straight for Oliver's throat, the way he always did when someone hit a nerve. Back in the studio, Oliver's team got the alert almost instantly. The host stepped back out as the lights came up, holding his phone in one hand and grinning like he'd just won the lottery. "Hold on, folks," he said, signaling the control room. The giant screens behind him lit up with Trump's posts in giant white text on a dark background. The audience read them live and lost it, cheering and clapping like they were at a boxing match. Oliver let the roar build for a second, then raised his hand for quiet. He didn't even give the crowd time to settle. "Well, that didn't take long," Oliver said, shaking his head. Without missing a beat, he hit the remote. An old clip of Trump filled the screen from years earlier, the former president leaning into a microphone with that signature smirk. "I have great genes," Trump boasted in the video. "The best genes. They're all in the family." The timing was perfect. The audience exploded, laughter rolling through the studio in waves. People were slapping their knees, pointing at the screen, some even standing up. The contrast hit like a punchline nobody saw coming. Trump wasn't done. While the laughter was still echoing, another notification popped up. Oliver read it out loud in real time. "I will sue this guy into oblivion. He's finished." The crowd went even wilder. Oliver let out a big laugh, slapping the fake belly prop still strapped to his waist. "Mr. President," he said directly into the camera, "you just gave me Chapter 2. Thank you for the material. I really appreciate it." The energy in the room was electric now. Oliver looked out at the audience, his expression turning sharper. "Tonight, we're not just laughing," he said, his voice steady and clear. "We're keeping score." The studio erupted one last time as the segment rolled into the next break. The segment came back from break, and the mood in the studio had already shifted from laughs to something sharper. Oliver stood center stage, the fake belly still strapped on, and looked straight into the camera. "All right, we've heard from the president. Now let's hear from someone who was actually there." He clicked the remote, and a pre-recorded video filled the big screens. A man's face appeared, blurred and voice slightly disguised, an anonymous former Mar-a-Lago staffer who worked there during Melania's supposed pregnancy. "I was around her almost every day in those months," the man said. "Month 7? She wasn't showing like a normal pregnant woman at all. No real bump, no tired walk, nothing. We were all told to keep quiet about it." The audience murmured, some leaning forward in their seats. Oliver didn't let the moment cool off. He pulled up a clear timeline graphic on the screen, dates highlighted in red and green. "Here's the math that doesn't add up," he said plainly. "Official records say Melania was pregnant for 9 months. But look at the gap between her last public appearance with a visible belly and Barron's birth announcement. There's a full month missing. A whole month that doesn't line up with any medical timeline. This isn't a small slip. This is a cover." Right on cue, Trump's team fired back. Fox News cut into an emergency live interview with the president himself, sitting at his desk looking furious. "This is nonsense. Total lies from a failing comedian," Trump said, jabbing his finger at the camera. Oliver didn't miss a beat. He split the studio screen in half. On one side, the Fox interview kept rolling. On the other side, clips played back to back, Melania at an event with a full belly, then just 3 weeks later walking in a fitted dress with a completely flat stomach. Next to that, an old Trump clip popped up where he bragged, "I have perfect family timing. Everything happens exactly when it should." The studio lost its mind. People started standing up, cheering and clapping as the contradictions stacked on screen. Oliver raised his voice over the roar. "This is not comedy anymore," he said, pointing at the split screen. "This is correction." The audience exploded even louder, some whistling, others chanting Oliver's name. The energy was raw and unstoppable. Miles away, Trump slammed his phone down after the Fox hit. He immediately dialed his legal team, voice loud enough to echo through the room. "Get on this right now," he barked. "I want options. Shut this down." Then, Donald Trump had called an emergency press conference. Cameras from every network were rolling as he stepped up to the podium at Mar-a-Lago, his face flushed deep red, jaw tight, and finger already jabbing toward the camera like he wanted to punch through the lens. "John Oliver has nothing," he bellowed, voice rising with every word. "Absolutely nothing. This is a total witch hunt, fake news, and lies from a failing British comedian who's jealous of real success. Nobody attacks my beautiful family like this and gets away with it. These are vicious people. Back in the studio, Oliver didn't even wait for Trump to finish his first sentence. He switched the feed live onto the massive screens behind him so the entire audience could watch in real time. "Here we go, folks," Oliver said, standing right in front of the live feed with that signature smirk. "Let's fact-check this in real time." As Trump kept ranting, Oliver started dropping the old clips one after another, perfectly timed. The first clip hit immediately after Trump claimed it was all made up. Trump from years earlier leaning into a microphone saying, "I have the best judgment on family matters. Nobody better than me." The audience burst into loud laughter. Before Trump could take another breath, Oliver rolled the second clip. "I'm never wrong about timing. Everything I do is perfect. Believe me." The crowd roared louder. The third one landed even harder, Trump proudly declaring, "Melania is flawless, absolutely flawless in every way." People were slapping their knees. Then the fourth clip sealed it. Trump boasting with a big grin, "We have perfect family genes and perfect family planning." The best. Each time Trump denied something on the live feed, Oliver's clip played right on top of it, the contradictions stacking up like dominoes falling in slow motion. The studio audience was completely hooked, laughing and cheering with every new hit. You could feel the energy building, the kind of raw excitement that only happens when someone powerful gets called out with their own words. Trump was still at the podium, sweating under the lights, when Oliver dropped the next heavy blow. "But we're not done with just clips tonight," Oliver said, holding up a finger. "Let's hear from someone who actually worked inside the machine." He hit play on a new audio leak. A former Trump Organization employee's voice filled the studio, tone nervous, but clear. "I handled the private travel logs back then. Ivanka flew overseas on the exact dates when Melania was supposed to be deep in her third trimester. Private jet, no press allowed, complete media blackout. We were all told not to ask any questions and to keep everything off the books." The audience gasped audibly. Some people whistled, others leaned forward in their seats, whispering to each other. The weight of that audio felt different. It wasn't just jokes anymore. It was someone from the inside confirming the timeline didn't add up. Still live on camera at his own press conference, Trump couldn't control himself. He pulled out his phone right there at the podium and started typing furiously, thumbs smashing the screen. New Truth Social notifications popped up instantly on Oliver's monitor. Oliver read them out loud with a big laugh. "Oliver is a liar. This is a total hoax. We will destroy him in court. Fake audio." The host shook his head, still grinning. "You're live tweeting your own destruction, sir. Keep going, please. We've got plenty of room for more chapters tonight." For 3 long seconds, the studio fell completely silent as the full impact of the press conference, the clips, and the audio leak sank in. Then, the place exploded. People jumped to their feet, cheering wildly, clapping so hard it sounded like thunder rolling through the room. Oliver raised both hands, letting the roar build before he spoke again. "He just handed us the knockout punch," he said, voice cutting clearly through the noise. "And we're still only getting started." The crowd kept cheering as the segment rolled toward another break, the war between Oliver and Trump now feeling like a full-blown street fight with no rules. Then the studio lights dimmed slightly as John Oliver stepped forward, his face serious now. The fake belly was still strapped on, but nobody was laughing anymore. "We've shown clips, timelines, and audio," he said. "But this next one, this is the one they never wanted you to see." He clicked the remote, and a never-before-seen video from 2016 filled the massive screens. It was raw footage from a private event, clearly dated, showing Melania in a fitted outfit, moving easily, laughing, and standing tall with 0 baby bump, even though official records said she was 8 months pregnant at the time. The crowd in the studio went completely quiet at first, then started murmuring in shock as the video played on. Miles away, Donald Trump was watching the show live. The moment the video hit, his face turned purple with rage. He grabbed his phone and fired off a furious Truth Social post. "This is a deep state hoax, fake video. They're trying to destroy me and my family with cheap lies." The notification popped up instantly on Oliver's monitor. Trump kept typing more, calling it all rigged and demanding the video be taken down. Oliver didn't pause. He froze the video and brought up a brutal side-by-side comparison on the big screen. On the left, the new Melania footage, clearly not pregnant. On the right, an official Trump family photo from the exact same week showing her with a fake-looking bump, plus her own public statement from that year claiming she was happily preparing for the baby. The contradictions were impossible to ignore. The studio audience erupted, booing loudly and shouting in disbelief. Some people stood up, pointing at the screen, the energy turning raw and angry. Oliver kept the pressure on. "But we're not stopping there," he said. "Let's hear from someone who protected the family." He played the third witness, a voice-disguised former Secret Service agent. The deep, altered voice came through clearly. "We were given direct orders to keep quiet about Ivanka's private flight overseas. It happened right in the middle of the so-called pregnancy window. No records, no press, nothing. We were told it was national security, but we all knew what it really was." The studio exploded again. Cheers mixed with loud boos as the full picture sank in. Oliver stood there, letting it all breathe for a moment, the weight of the revelations hanging heavy in the air. Back at Mar-a-Lago, Trump had seen enough. He snatched the remote and slammed the TV off so hard the screen wobbled. He pounded his fist on the table, face twisted in fury, and yelled at his team standing nearby, "Shut him down now! Get lawyers! Get everybody! Make this stop immediately!" His voice echoed through the room as the chapter ended, leaving the entire country on edge. Then, the lights in the studio dimmed as John Oliver stepped to center stage for the final stretch. "We've heard the denials, we've seen the clips, and we've listened to the witnesses," he said, voice steady but sharp. "Now let's put it all together." For the next 3 minutes, the big screens played a ruthless montage. Every time Trump denied the story, "Fake leaks! Nothing but lies! This never happened." The video cut instantly to his own old clips bragging about perfect family timing, flawless Melania, and the best genes in the world. The audience watched the contradictions slam together, one after another, building like a freight train. Laughter mixed with gasps as the full weight of the night hit them all at once. Suddenly, Oliver's producer signaled from offstage. The host paused, surprised, then smiled. "Folks, you're not going to believe this. We have a live call coming in." The studio phones lit up on screen. Donald Trump himself was on the line. Oliver took the call live, and the entire audience leaned forward in stunned silence. "Mr. President," Oliver said calmly. Trump's voice exploded through the speakers, loud and furious. "This is bullshit, John. You're a liar spreading fake videos and fake witnesses. I'm going to sue you, your network, everybody." Oliver didn't back down. "Sir, we just showed your own words contradicting you for 3 straight minutes. Are you saying all those old clips of you are fake too?" Trump shot back. "Those are taken out of context. You're a low-energy hack trying to make me look bad." The back and forth grew hotter. Oliver pressed him on the timeline and the Ivanka flight. Trump kept yelling about deep state hoaxes and lawsuits. For 90 tense seconds, the whole country seemed to hold its breath as the president argued live with a comedian on national television. The studio audience was dead quiet, hanging on every word. Finally, Oliver cut through the shouting. He looked straight into the camera and said it clean. "Mr. President, you're fired by logic." The line landed like a hammer. The studio erupted in massive cheers and laughter. Oliver didn't stop there. He brought up one last image on the screen, the final knockout blow. It was a clear, time-stamped photo from 2016 showing Melania standing beside Ivanka overseas, both smiling, on the exact day official records claimed Melania was 8 months pregnant back in New York. No belly, no explanation. Just the picture sitting there in silence. The audience lost it completely, roaring with disbelief and applause. Oliver let the moment breathe, then gave a small nod. The screen slowly faded to black. Only the sound of the audience's laughter echoed through the studio as white text appeared on the dark background. Words have consequences. The night was over, but the fire John Oliver lit was just beginning.